Hello there everyone, welcome back to Push Square, your number one destination for all things PlayStation. My name is Aaron, and today's video is all about the Last of Us HBO television adaptation. We just got a big dump of character posters, 11 in total I believe, covering the various main characters and side characters of the beloved video game. Now, I am cautiously optimistic about this game, I think is the best way to put it, at this television show, because The Last of Us just means a great deal to me. I think it works perfectly within the video game medium, and transferring that to television, I think there's still a solid product to be made from that, but I'm just not convinced that it will be quite as good. But that doesn't mean I'm not really excited to see what they do with the different interpretations of the characters, the slight ways that they move about the narrative, and how they deal with the lack of the interactive aspect. Now, that means that today I'm just going to be overanalyzing a bunch of posters basically. So we've got the character posters right in front of me, and I'm going to go through them. We're going to discuss some of the details that we lifted from it, and we don't have a lot to go on, but we're going to try our very best to take some stuff from it. First up though, Pedro Pascal as Joel is one of those casting decisions you would have never have thought of, but when it's there in front of you, you're just like, yes, this makes sense. And looking at him right now, the guy looks the part. You've got the dad jacket, the blue shirt, the holstered pistol at the hip, you've got the rifle over the back, and of course the little teases of the iconic backpack there with the straps to the side. I love the scruffy kind of greyed beard. Pedro Pascal can't really grow a proper beard. I don't, at least like a full big one, I don't think anyway. And there's something about that just makes this seem even more authentic. I love it. The scruffy hair as well, I think he just looks perfect for it. In the background, we're looking at a couple of fungal spores kind of spreading across, or fungal growths spreading across the wall in the background there. Other than that though, we can't really take much from it. We don't really know where this is being based at this point. If I had to guess, not that I think it's really going to matter, I would say that this is the area that you're sneaking through at the beginning of the game after the Firefly attack in the quarantine zone in Boston. So here's hoping that I'm right with that. Moving on though, we've got Bella Ramsey as Ellie. And this is really, for me, like the big gamble of this show, because Ellie is such a complex character. And not that Joel isn't, but Joel, in a way, I felt there's a lot of people that could have played Joel, and I'm happy with what we've got. But here with Ellie is a real risk in many ways, because if you don't get Ellie right, you don't get the story of The Last of Us right. It's really hinging on this character, to be honest, because even though you play as Joel is kind of framed as the main character. It's really Ellie's story in many ways. And from what I'm looking at right now, I see the jacket, I see the hoodie, the backpack, the switchblade knife at the bottom there. Got to love that it's included. Had to be honest. We've got a frag grenade, I think, hanging from the backpack at the side, and even the little slit in the or the scar across the eyebrow, that's there as well. So I think everything looks like it's in place, and I'm very curious to see how it's pulled off, whether Bella Ramsey can really do this role justice. Another thing, a little flashlight on the strap of the backpack, a little bit of duct tape as well. We got to love it. A little bit of dirt in the face as well, something I'll probably get into at some point, but I'm liking the look of it. It's just my big question, can Bella Ramsey pull it off? And I have my fingers crossed for it, and I'm really hopeful. So next up, probably one of the characters I'm most excited to see in this interpretation, because I feel like it's a character that can be expanded upon and can be maybe messed around with a little as well, and that's Gabriel Luna as Tommy. Now looking at this, I'm just going to bring it up. The cleanliness of it all. It looks a little too clean for the post-apocalypse, and part of me thinks that maybe this is Tommy before the post-apocalypse. You know, he's clean shaven in this, so this might be Outbreak Day. However, I don't believe it's not set in winter. It's September 26th, I believe, is Outbreak Day. So the wintry background with the trees, I don't know whether that's just to make it look cool or whether this is Tommy in that setting. Who knows? Maybe we'll be getting a little delve into some of the some of those 20 years between the prologue and the actual start of the game. My favourite thing though, having the sniper rifle. We know this boy is absolutely cracked with this thing. He will be hitting off all the headshots, as we know from The Last of Us Part 2, and I like to see that included in his character profile. So next up we've got Anna Torv as Tess, and this one has a lot to take from it, I think. I mean, she just looks fantastic as Tess. You've got one, like the thing that I jumped to was the hands. They look quite rough, and I think that's quite emblematic of Tess. She's got some scars, a bit of maybe bruising. We've got a mark on the nose and on the lip as well. We know this woman is a bit of a bruiser. She's not going to take any shit. She's going to, you know, break some arms, shoot some heads off, and she just looks like a survivor, like a hardened survivor. Again, like, hair is quite important in this, and I think the hair you can see there, it all looks the part. I think Anna Torv is such a good casting for this character. To look at the background very quickly, that's got to be the place that, spoilers, she dies. This looks like the place where they meet up with the fireflies. It's got the same lighting, the high ceilings. It's got to be there, and you've got to think that some of these locations are tied to, you know, what is associated with that character. That's what I'm thinking from there. Moving on though, we've got Meryl Dandridge as Marlene, and this is one of the only actors from the video game that's actually playing her original character. Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, and I believe Jeffrey something, I've forgotten his full name, the guy that plays Tommy, they're all going to be in there somewhere as different characters. But here we have Meryl Dandridge, the only person that could play Marlene. And looking at some of the background quickly, it's looking, I'm getting the Boston QZ vibes. There's some rubbish down on the floor there, a firefly symbol as well. And of course she's going for that classic video game look with the cargo trousers, the gun straps on the legs, and the tank top. I mean, she is Marlene, so it looks perfect. So here's my first bone of contention with this whole thing. Now, if you watched my trailer reaction a little while ago when the teaser trailer came out, I just kept going on about how clean everyone looked, and this was the first one for me that brought that back to the front of my mind, and that's Nick Offerman as Bill. A great casting in my mind. I think this guy's fantastic. I maybe would have doubted it if Parks and Rec was all I'd seen him in, but not recently, a few years ago I watched Devs, and he is watched that show. But this one here, like, Bill to me is a very greasy character, and here he looks a little too clean. They've got the scruffy beard, but the hair's just looking a wee bit too well looked after, same with the jacket and everything. Now, a couple of interesting details to take from this is that behind, you've obviously got one of his offices from Billstown. We've got a collection of guns, we've got CCTV, which means electricity or generators, and to me that must mean that we are getting somewhat of a more advanced version of Bill. And to delve a little deeper into it, I have to look at the next character profile, which is Frank. Murray Bartlett as Frank. Now, Frank in the game is never seen alive. We see his corpse. He's hung himself after being bitten a few times, and this is Bill's partner. It's a very complicated and contentious relationship in a way. We know that Frank left Bill and left a note saying that he would rather die like taking a chance outside than spend another day with him. So I think we're going to see, obviously we're going to see these two together because the guy's got a character poster, so he has to at least be in there alive at some point. I've got to assume it's Billstown we're seeing in the background there, very suburban looking area. And to link into my theory somewhat of what we're seeing here, that guy's shirt, it's too clean. It's too clean. That looks like it's straight off the rack. That thing is better ironed than any shirt I have worn for the last 5 years. It looks too good. So my theory here is that we have Bill and Frank together before they part ways, and basically what we see of Bill in the game and what we may say here is him after the loss of Frank, after he's left him and the place is falling apart. It's like a whole advanced Billstown that's basically got its stuff together, and we might find out that a lot of that's to do with Frank. So very curious to see how it plays out, to be honest, and I'm hoping that's the reason everything looks very clean, because the cleanliness doesn't scream 20 years on from apocalyptic outbreak. Then we've got another couple of first looks, and that's Lamar Johnson as Henry and Kevon Woodard as Sam. Henry here, I think, to go against the cleanliness of Frank and Bill, looks perfect. The jacket's withered, the t-shirt's got a bit of dirt in it, we've got some marks in the face, the withered backpack. In the background here, I've got to assume this is the suburban area that you come to after the underground bunker with Ish and the other survivors. I would note that he maybe looks a little younger than what I had envisioned with the character, especially having just played the PS5 remake. It was a character, you know, a few greys in his beard. We know he's old enough to at least remember the before the apocalypse. Maybe we'll just see that through the performance rather than the physical attributes of that actor, and I think this is a great first look. To move on to Sam though, I think we're getting a lot of telling details here. He's got a bit of paint on his face with the paint pots in front of him there, and a lot of superhero kid drawings in the back, and I've got to assume this is where the two of them have been held up. They've obviously got the cardboard covering the windows, possibly a little sleeping blanket in the background there. The thing I love about these little details is that the whole thing with Sam is that he's basically a repressed child. He wants to be child and childlike, you know, he wants to do all these little childish things because he's a young guy. But he can't because of the world he lives in with his overprotective brother in many ways. So I'm really glad to see that they're making that a big integral part of their relationship in the show as well. Super stoked to see this one. Then to go on to characters that have some big impact on the show but might not actually be in it all that much. They aren't in the game that much. First up, Nico Parker as Sarah. Now this was one of the only ones from the teaser trailer that I felt really... like, I saw it, I could see it, I could see the performance there, and I was happy for it because everything else at this point I think has been too limited and too short to really gauge a proper, you know, impression of it. Looking just like aesthetically, we've got what I'd assume is Joel's home in the background, Joel and Sarah's home. She's got the band t-shirt on that she wears at the beginning of the game. I can feel the pressure for this actor for this part because so much of the emotional weight of The Last of Us hinges on this part, the very beginning of the show when Sarah dies, and that's to assume that they're even going to show that from the very get. They may do this in flashbacks, so it'll be curious to see. Having her own poster here makes me think she could play an even bigger role in the television show. We've yet to see. But speaking of flashbacks, lastly we've got Storm Reid as Riley. Now, Storm Reid of Euphoria fame, seeing her in that show, you just know she's going to crush it here. I love to see talking about the backgrounds, we've got the carousel from the Left Behind DLC. Obviously, her very existence in this character poster lineup shows that we're getting the Left Behind DLC. And I think the biggest question is really, will it be fragmented across the show or will it be one big flashback episode? I don't know what at this point which would be better, but I'm glad to see that they've brought out the big guns with Storm Reid for this part. There's not a lot you can really take from her outfit, but I think it's going to be there. I'm glad to see, again, like so many of the other characters, that we're getting a big emphasis in this. It's like the creators, with Neil Druckmann involved as well, obviously, know the important aspects of this story and are trying to show us at this point they are coming. But of course, those are just impressions and an over-analysis of these character posters. Let me know what you're thinking of them down below. Are you, like, excited now? More excited? Less excited? What do you think about this? The character posters for me are all a part of the big hype train. You know, this is just building up the momentum from for that January 15th launch date, and I can't help but kind of get swept up in it. The Last of Us, as I said, it's very important to me, and I don't think this will touch the game, but I also don't really think it needs to. That is of its own existence to me. And in many ways, I'm just glad to see that this story will be reaching new audiences that maybe wouldn't touch the video game. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, consider leaving a like. We really do appreciate it. And if you would like to see more content like this and anything else surrounding the world of PlayStation, consider subscribing to us here at Push Square. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.